Hi, my name is Paul Henry and I'm a property investor. Thank you for joining me on this short video about how house prices have behaved and how to recognise trends in the UK housing market. I will say from the outset that I do not have a crystal ball and past performance is no guarantee to future results. However, if you look at the trends, it can give you an idea of what could possibly happen and where the next possible hotspots are to purchase your next investment property. Let's look first of all at some historical house price data. What has happened to the market over time as an average? Now this particular slide is a sample of the market at 2012. I know it's a bit out of date, but I want you to understand the trends and how the trends work. So on here we have the different prime ministers. Now I will stress I'm not doing this to show you political agenda, by the way. This is how the snapshot came as was provided by the Halifax Bank. This shows you what happens to a £10,000 house over a 50-year period from 1964 to 2014. So starting with Harold Wilson, he came into office in 1964. He was in office till June 70, and every year, on average, property prices went up by 6%. Edward Heath then came into office in June 1970 to 74, and during the 4 years he was in office, house prices on average went up by 24% per annum. Harold Wilson then came in for a further 2 years, then his house prices were up by 7%. James Callaghan had a 3-year premiership from 76 to 79, and over those 3 years, on average, house prices went up by 16%. Margaret Thatcher came in from 79, and during her 11 years as Prime Minister, house prices on average went up by 12% per annum. Then John Major, for his 7 years, had 1% per annum house price rise during his term in office. And while Tony Blair was in office from May 1997 to 2004, house prices went up per annum by, on average, by 12%. And from 2004 to 2014, where these stats have ended, house prices then went up 2.5% per annum. Now, what you are seeing here is an ebb and a flow. But what I want you to look at is how many of these years are double digits. A phenomenal amount of double digits. Now generically, trends tend to be flat for 6 to 8 years, then you tend to get an outstanding growth for 7 to 10 years. Flat for 6 to 8 years, then growth for 7 to 10 years. That's how it seems to work. Now since 1957, property prices have risen on average 11.3% per year. Now the last 85 years, the average has been 7.9%. But don't take my word for all of this. Check it out for yourself on Land Registry. Now, let's look at the North-South divide. So I took 3 decades here to show you the North-South divide. So here we are, north of England and the south of England in the 80s virtually went up the same. Then in the 90s, the south of England went up 46%, but the north only 19%. Then in the noughties, the north of England catches up, it goes up 102%, then the south of England only 75%. So you can see over this 30-year period, the south has gone up 5.5 times multiple and the north has gone up 5 times multiple. So over time, if you track this back through the decades, and again, don't take my word for this, go on Land Registry, the north and the south go up the same. So what does that mean for us now? Now, here is a property valued at £3,800 back in 1969 and growing over a 40-year period. Now, in 40 years, it is worth £175,000. The black line shows you the index as to what happened in the economy each year, year by year. So you can see here in 1972 and 1973, we've got growth, 33% growth in one year, 36% growth in the other year. Let me just show you that on the graph. So you can see there 33% and 36%, and there's the years 1972 and 1973. Now lots of people will remember 1972 and 1973 as it was when the bank's interest rates were high. Now people were saying, I don't want to get involved in property when the rates are above 10%. However, rates go up on mortgages when inflation is high to try and control inflation. When inflation is high, your house prices are going up really fast. So if you're keeping your eye on the trends, and if you would have seen this coming, you would have put yourself on a fixed rate deal, maybe a 5-year fixed rate to ride out the storm. So whilst you're on the fixed, you would have had 70 to 80% of compound growth over 2 years. I would love that to happen again. I would love it. I would love inflation to be high and interest rates to go up. I'm not saying that tongue in cheek. That will give brilliant inflation on my properties along with great cash flow. It's a win-win. Now, I don't think that's going to happen, by the way, in terms of a boom like that, but it's important to understand both sides of the equation. People are fearful of interest rates being high, but they don't understand that the growth is so massive, and you see that again in the 80s when we've had the same situation. And there you can see it again in the 80s there, and the growth that we was getting during that time as well. Now let's look at this graph, this same graph again, and the same property, and look at this. The actual growth over that 40-year period was 10.3% on average. Now I encourage you to model at 5% growth. Now why 5%? Because 5% is half of the national average at that particular time. Now if you model on the blue line, you are being cautious. Even after 15 years, you can see the difference, never mind after 40 years. I believe if you model on the blue line, you are being safe and secure, and you will always have upside. In the next decade, I don't believe we'll get 7.9%, as in the last 85 years, but maybe 6 to 7%. As I've mentioned before, I do not have a crystal ball, and I can't promise you that. You need to decide, you need to look at the data, do your own research, but I feel comfortable modeling at 5% growth. So looking at the last 13 years up to 2019, the right hand side column takes you back to 2005. But let's look at the left hand column. Now this is what has happened to house prices. So if we start with London, since 2010 to 2019, Greater London on average, over that period of time, house prices in London have gone up 66.9%. That is then followed by the Outer Metropolitan. Outer Metropolitan has gone up by the house prices have gone up 54.8%, and then that's followed by the Outer Southeast. So Outer Southeast is at 43.8%, and then you've got the East Anglia. So East Anglia has gone up by 41.1%, and then you've got Southwest. Southwest has gone up by 34.6%, and then East Midland. East Midland is 34.1%, followed by West Midland, and West Midland is down here at 31.3%. Now that is then followed by Northwest, and Northwest is at 18.7%. And then Yorkshire and Humberside at 17.7%, followed by Wales, and Wales is at 12.9%, and then the North at 8.3%. So you can see the washout taking place, but when prices fall or stagnate, they do it in the same pattern. So there are investors who understand the London market, so they follow the trend and say London market is up 100% in the last 12 years. They will buy properties in the Midlands or the M62 corridor, as they are close to going up next. They understand that over time the North will catch up with the South. So if you buy in the Midlands at 24%, it has another 45% of growth to catch up with London. Or if you buy in the north, you have another 62% to catch up. They get over time, it catches up. Now, once you study this and get this fully, then you can buy in the right place. So looking at this slide, Midlands may be going up to the M62 corridor, Leeds, Manchester. A few years after, people will be buying further north, if that may be Newcastle as well, Yorkshire, because the Midlands would have moved. I'd like to thank you for watching this video on house prices in the UK. I would encourage you to watch it again, maybe a few times, as I went through this quite quickly. But I would also encourage you to do your own research, as I do not have that crystal ball. However, I do follow the trends. Now, in my next video, I will be talking about distant investing against local investing. So again, thank you for watching, and I look forward to seeing you on my next video. Turn on your drive, turn on your passion, turn off your fear, and invest for financial freedom. Thank you.